Ohio State head coach Ryan Day joining us now from our studio in Columbus. Coach, really appreciate you taking the time out. Give us a sense first for how you've structured this bye week.
Yeah, we changed it up from the last bye week we had. You know, we were coming into a Friday night game when we played Northwestern. This week we're practicing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all padded practices. A little bit shorter, but we want to keep them crisp to keep our edge, and but also to let a lot of the younger guys play and get an opportunity to continue to develop as the season goes on.
What are you most pleased with about this team at this point?
I think the chemistry. I think that in the leadership that has been strong, and I think anytime you have that kind of leadership that we have and the chemistry that we have, it makes the guys play even harder for each other. And I think you see that at certain times. I think a great example of that was a couple weeks ago at halftime of the Northwestern game. We make a long field goal, and the whole team is out there to congratulate Blake, at midfield. And even this past week, late in the game, Chase and some of the guys are out there barking at some of the guys who were playing the last drive of the game on offense and defense. You can just kind of see this team as the season goes on get stronger and stronger.
Who have been those best leaders?
Well, I think Chase has been strong right from the get-go. He's been in front of the team, and anytime you get in front of the team, you really have to, put yourself out there, and he's done that. And then also J.K. I think both of those guys have a strong voice. Jeff Okuda's been in front of the team. He's been strong. And there's a lot of guys on the team, but those guys have probably been the most vocal as the season has gone on.
It's interesting to me, Coach, that you haven't done this before, that going through all of these things you're going through for the first time. As you reflect on this job to this point and getting to this part of the season and still being undefeated, what do you think the most important change that you made in this program was?
Well, I don't know about change. I just know that the whole key to coaching, in my opinion, is year in and year out, especially in college, is identifying, the right staff and making sure that you have the right people together in the right spots, doing the right job, and empowering those guys to do their job. I think then it's identifying who your leaders are, personnel on both sides in terms of building a vision and then having everybody work towards that vision. But every season it's different, especially when you're dealing in college, where it's just, you recruit different people to come in, and then you organize the program, offense, defense, overall, based on who you have. And it adapts. It adapts every week. It adapts every day. And your ability to adapt and, hit on the things that matter and keep the guys focused and locked in and just promote discipline week in and week out is critical.
You did, of course, take over for one of the greatest coaches in the history of college football. He left this program in amazing shape. How much have you leaned on Coach Meyer here in this first year?
He's, throughout my whole career, he's been a great resource for me, and I've certainly leaned on him different times over the last year, just for advice here or there. He's been great. He's also given me my space to find my own voice and find our own identity as a staff and as a team as we move forward. And so he's been wonderful, and certainly owe him the world, he and Shelley, for the opportunity that he gave my family and I.
As we have spoken on a lot of our shows, going into that Wisconsin game in particular, as we were there for the pregame show, and we were talking a little bit about, well, what's the challenge? What's the thing that Ohio State hasn't had to deal with at this point? And going into that game, the thought was, well, they haven't really been in a game. They haven't been in a game in the second half, and that was kind of the lingering question. And then, of course, the game turns out to be 10-7 in the third quarter, and you guys blew them out from there. So much for that lingering question. Do you have lingering questions, things you still want to see this team prove to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, every week we have something to prove, and we've had something to prove from the get-go. I thought this was a great example, though, of a situation where we had our backs up against the wall. We have a punt that was blocked. They come down and score, or it's a three-point game. And we came right down and scored and kind of controlled the game from there. But our backs were against the wall there, and that was good to see the team respond. But it's still really kind of midway through the season. We have a lot of football left, and the ability to bring it week in and week out and continue to show how tough we are, because I think there's a physical toughness, but there's also a mental toughness, and that's bringing it every week. And so if we don't keep doing that on a weekly basis, then none of this will really matter.
That has been the issue, obviously, the last couple of years for Ohio State, having one game or maybe two games where they're not at their absolute best. And and losing the games. And you think about the Iowa game a couple of years ago, Purdue last year, to a certain extent, Maryland last year too. Of course, you guys escaped with the win in that one. How do you prevent that? How do you prevent having games like that?
Well, I think that's college football. And when you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids and young men, that's something you have to be on top of. And you just keep talking about it. You keep building your culture up. You keep talking about how important it is week in and week out to do the same things and keep the discipline of preparing physically, emotionally, and mentally for every game.
Is there a more specific message that you tailor for this time of the year, that you tailor for November and heading into the stretch run when championships are won here?
Well, I think that the way our schedule is played out, we had the first 6 games of the year. We had a bye, and then we went to Northwestern, and then we had Wisconsin at home. And now we're into this bye week, and then now we have the stretch run. So we've kind of broken up into those 3 segments, and now this is the stretch run. So is the focus any different than it was early on in the season? No, not really. We still have something to prove week in and week out. I still don't think we're very good. We still got a long way to go. I talk to the team about that all the time. You know, if you think you're very good right now, you're not. I think we have a chance to be, but we still got to prove it every week. And it's only going to matter if we continue to build from what we started here.
Well, this would be in the category of nice problems to have, but you probably have 3 Heisman candidates on this team, which is pretty remarkable, and Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins and Chase Young. How much have you addressed with them this notion that there's going to be this hype and this spotlight around them and how they should handle it?
Zero conversation. We've not talked about it at all. It's something that I think when you come to Ohio State and you play at the highest level, and you get to a point where we are and undefeated at this point of the season, things like that are going to happen. And, you know, it wasn't a distraction early on when people didn't think much of us, and it's not going to be a distraction as we move forward when people are starting to talk about our guys like that. It just isn't. You know, this focus is on the team, and I think they would tell you that they're not interested in individual accolades. They're they're interested in championships. If we continue to win, I think, you know, all those awards are going to come naturally. And if you go looking for them, they're not going to come. I think that's the biggest thing is you don't go looking for things like that. They come along with team success.
There has been plenty of team success to this point. Again, undefeated with the bye week this week and then the stretch run here in November, a month that includes games against Penn State and Michigan. Head coach of the Buckeyes, Ryan Day. Coach, thanks so much for your time.
No, thank you. See you soon.